Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our our general council meeting for the 11th of December and our final council meeting for 2024. So, welcome everyone. So just going through our agenda. We have recorded who's present. And any apologies of leaves of absence. So, Councillor Crease.
Through the chair, I'd like to apply for a leave of absence for next year. So it will be for the 28th of February to the 24th of March. It does not include any general council meetings, and I just ask if it's possible any meetings, if they could be provided with a Teams link so I can actually still participate. It would be appreciated.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you very much. I was finally checked with my husband yesterday as well. So I'll be taking leave from the 2nd of January till the 19th of January. Next year, which doesn't include a council meeting, but there'll be some other meetings there, no doubt. Councillor Sofa.
Through the chair, with that, Madam Mayor, as it is possibly there could be great rains and we could have disaster management issues, would the Deputy Mayor be appointed as the acting Mayor for that period of time?
Yeah, that's what would normally be happening. And from a disaster management perspective, you're the Deputy Chair, so that would be your responsibility according to our policy.
No, I just wanted to confirm that there would be an acting Mayor appointed for that period of time.
Well, normally when the Mayor is away, the Deputy Mayor steps up for the Mayor, and in your role as Deputy for the LDMG, you'll step up as Chair for the LDMG. So if you were going on leave, yeah, Councillor. But thank you very much. And welcome, Councillor Burns. So moving on to acknowledgement of country. Sorry, we do need a motion to accept those leaves of absence. Oh, sorry, mover? Mover, Councillor Newman. Seconder.
I do have another question. Yep. I thought we didn't need to endorse leaves of absence unless it was for a council meeting.
Yeah.
It's only council meeting leaves of absence that has to be endorsed?
Yeah.
Does yours include a
council?
No. Oh, sorry.
And mine doesn't include a council meeting.
Through the chair, mine doesn't include any general council meetings, but just wanted, for transparency, just to know that, I wouldn't be in the region.
I've conferred with the oracle known as Marnie, and who agrees.
That we don't have to.
Yeah.
Good show. There we go. Thank you, Councillor Cypher, Councillor. And I was going to say Councillor Marnie, but Marnie, thank you very much. Okie dokie, thank you. So we're right to move on to item 3, which is the acknowledgement of country. So I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. We pay our respects to elders past and present. Thank you. And moving on now to item number 4, which is our opening prayer. So I'd like to welcome Rod. Thank you very much. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
none of you would have seen behind closed doors in the Presbyterian Church of Queensland, but this is all feeling very familiar, actually, to me, the way we run meetings and things as well. So I feel very much at home. Apologies for Greg. He called me just this morning that it looks like he's going to have to take his dog in to get put down this morning. I don't know what happened overnight, but I could hear some noises in the background on the phone and say, I'm just stepping in for Greg today. He would have loved to have been here. I just thought I'd read and share some of the lesser known portions of the Christmas story and say a short prayer. We all know about the familiar manger scene that you see in the Nativity with shepherds gathered round and other guests and the wise men, these sort of wealthy dignitaries from the east who have travelled so far. But there's a story in the Bible that doesn't get mentioned as much around Christmas time. It must be weeks or months later when the young couple, Joseph and Mary, take their child Jesus to the temple to be dedicated, and it says that when the time came for the purification according to the law of Moses, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord, as it is written and to offer a sacrifice according to what is said in the law, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, which I'll just pause for a second. That's kind of interesting. The law of the Lord in the early parts of the Bible says that the sacrifice should be a lamb and a turtle dove or a pigeon. But if you're very, very poor, you could give just 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, which is just a little bit of an insight into the background that Jesus was born into, that they were a poor family that were opting for the lesser sacrifice of just the 2 small birds. But then it goes on to say that in the temple, Jesus is then surrounded by 2 people, an old man called Simeon and an old lady called Anna. Simeon is an old man who has been faithful to the Lord all his life, and somehow it's been revealed to Simeon that he would not die until he had seen the Messiah, the chosen one of God who would save his people. And just in that, it's Simeon is a man who we don't know anything about his personal life particularly, except that he appears to be carrying the burden of his people. The Jewish people at that point are occupied by the Romans. They have been displaced from their own land for years, and even to the extent that they are in their land, they're occupied, and they feel this weight that things aren't as they should be. Although not everyone feels that weight. Some have just gotten on with it, some have assimilated, but there's a few old, maybe stodgy, maybe stubborn sorts of people like Simeon who think, gee, this just isn't the way it's meant to be, and he prays and cries out that God would deliver his people. And then there's this lady, Anna, who the Bible says is a prophet, and she was married, young, never had children. Her husband died while she was young, and then she spent all day and all night in the temple until she was 84 years old, praying to God that he would deliver his people. And then both these 2 people, Simeon and Anna, converge on Mary and Joseph holding the young baby, and they're overwhelmed. Simeon says, Lord, now you are letting your servant depart in peace, for my eyes have seen your salvation. And Anna, it doesn't say what she says, except that she started talking to everyone, declaring that God's salvation has come. And it occurs to me, look, Christmas is a happy time. It can also be a lonely time. There's plenty of people who are desperate. Some people who don't appear to be lonely, but are lonely. People who are obviously desperate. And they're not just people and individuals, but peoples. There's people groups who feel the burden of their own people as well. And so I thought I might just say a prayer for those and for you as you do your last meeting for the year. Let's pray.
Thank you.
Father, we thank you for your salvation. We thank you for your love and care and your attention to desperate and needy people. That the evidence being in the life of Simeon and Anna, who were overwhelmed with your grace and kindness to, in time, give a saviour to their people. Father, we know that many people experience loneliness and desperation around this time of year, all year round, but it feels more acute when other people are celebrating and gathering, and some feel lonely and in need. Father, we pray that you will lift them up, that you will sustain them through to the other end of this season. We pray that those with much will give to those with little. And yeah, Father, we thank you for your many gifts. As rain threatens, we pray that it will come and fall and bless this land. And Father, for our mayor and councillors, we pray that you will help them to conduct themselves with integrity and grace, and to call on your wisdom to do what's best for our region. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Rod.
Yeah,
thank you for reminding us that Christmas is a joyful and happy time of the year, but also that, you know, to be mindful that we all need to be humble and generous, whether that's generosity of goodwill or generosity of doing acts of kindness for those and understanding those who may not be. It's a time of joy and celebration. So thank you very much, Rod. Thank you very much for our blessings. And I know this time of year we always pray for rain, but we also pray that it's not too much.
Not too much, yeah.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much. And please pass on our thoughts to Greg today
Yeah, I
too.
will.
Thank you for filling in.
Yeah.
I greatly appreciate it. And Merry Christmas
Thank
to
you. Merry
yourself
Christmas
and
to you
Happy
all.
New Year.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thanks.
So, thank you. So, moving on to our next agenda item, which is item number 5, which is confirmation of minutes of our previous meeting. So, it's confirmation of the minutes for the General Council meeting on the 27th of November 2024. If I could have a mover, please. Councillor Cruz and a seconder. Councillor Wilkins, all in favour? Motion carried, thank you. So moving to any business arising out of those minutes. Everyone's concentrating, looking there, so I'm just presuming that we've already had a bit of a overview of those, so we'll move now. If there's nil items arising, move on to item number 7, which is a review of the outstanding meeting actions. So if there's any other meeting actions that anybody wanted to add there at all. Okay, thank you very much. So moving on to item number 8, which is the deputations. So today we have nil deputations. Moving on to item number 9, which is the mayoral minute. So there's nil minutes there. And moving on to item number 10, if there's any conflicts of interest at all to declare. Nil today. Moving on to item number 11, which is petitions. So, Mr. Acting CEO, are there any petitions today?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, there is. We have a petition to receive from the Bluff CRG. I'll read the petition. Dear Mayor and Councillors, on behalf of the Bluff Community Reference Group, I would like to lodge the attached petition. Bluff community would like to change our postcode to an independent one and have mail delivery. Currently, Bluff CRG is advocating 2 post-related items. Firstly, for Bluff to have its own postcode rather than the shared 4702 postcode, and secondly, for Bluff to have Australia Post mail service. We request Council support the change of postcode for Bluff and the return of the mail service to Bluff. Appreciate your time. Kind regards, Pat Oll. On behalf of the Bluff Community CRG. Councillors, we've prepared a appropriate resolution to deal with this issue, and that is that that the petition from Pat Ohl of the Bluff Community Reference Group be received and noted, and that council will refer the petition on to the federal member for Flynn, Colin Boyce, MP. Obviously, postcodes are a matter for the federal government, but we can certainly support that and pass the information and the petition on to the local MP, and I'm sure he will take that up with Australia Post or the relevant federal minister. So, but certainly the local MP would be the first port of call for that. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. So the resolution there is that the petition from, well, first off, are we allowed to talk about it? Yep, we are. Oh, good. Councillor Hindmarsh.
Through the chair, I'd like to thank the Bluff community for putting forward this petition. It's been an issue that has within their community for quite a long time. It is very important to them that that council be seen to support them with this move to get their own postcode and have the mail service returned. So yeah, I give my full support behind this.
Thank you, Councillor Hindmarsh. And I think the important part there is that, you know, there's two parts to that petition. One is to change the postcode to an independent one, and the other is to have the mail delivery to Bluff returned. So they haven't had mail delivery. They have to drive into Blackwater to pick up their mail. So that's the other part. So thank you. I take your point, and it's very important for council to be ensuring that we're advocating with community for both of those items. And it's good to know that that the petition will be handed on, forwarded on to Colin Boyce as our federal member. But I think it's also important for council to keep a copy also for their records, so that we know that we've got something there to continue to advocate for as well. And my other suggestion too would be for the Bluff Community Reference Group to also send a copy of the petition to Sean Dillon as our Gregory member, even though it's not his area of remit, so to speak. However, if we're all advocating for the same thing and we have that common understanding of what we'd like to do to support Bluff community, I think that's a good way to go forward as well, to suggest that for them. Okay, so if everyone's happy with that, sorry, Councillor Cruz.
Through the chair, fully support this, given that, you know, it was something that had happened in the past as well. So it's sort of going back to the way it probably should be. So fully supported, but just probably just wanting some clarification just around petitions. In that, how many do we accept all petitions, or is there an amount of signatures that have to be present for them to be tabled? And that's just purely just for information purposes.
Yeah. It's in our standing orders that I believe it's 8 or 10 signatures.
Sorry, Mayor. There are 62 signatures on this petition. I should have mentioned that earlier. I apologise for that, councillors. But there's 62 on this one. I'm not sure what the practice has been at this council, but I think most councils accept all petitions.
Excellent.
Often they're not to do with actual council business as such, but encouraging support or something for another level of government, such as this one. and the usual practice is to pass them on to the relevant level of government that has to deal with them.
And 62 signatures is good to note, Phil, because that is a big portion of that community. So obviously it's something much needed and recognised.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Cruz. Oh, everyone's lighting up today. So, Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you. Yeah, just for clarification or just my own understanding too. So I'm a bit disappointed that it was happening and then it was stopped, you know, to have to go to, so have to have a petition to go back again. I'm all for it. I think it's kind of like our right to have our mail delivered to us. So, but just, is it going to be like letterbox delivery or is it going to be like a post box sort of thing?
So, Councillor Wilkins first. That'll be for Australia Post to determine. It's not for us to determine. And they'll, you know, if there's going to be a change, I'm sure they'll have to have some community consultation about that. But I've been corrected by Millicent Bradley from the back of the room. There is a limit of 10 signatures for a petition to be valid under our standing orders. So that's we've well and truly cleared that hurdle today with 62. So I'll leave it to the councillors if you want to support that motion.
And I think, and given the population for the town is probably around just under 300, that's a lot of a petition. If that might even be a little bit more, just can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, and thank you. Many years ago, the shop burnt down, and the post office was part of the shop. So yeah, the community, yeah, good on them for speaking up and actioning some of these items that I know that they have brought to the CRG and been discussing for a number of years. So it's good. Thank you. So if we're right to move on to the motion, the resolution. Oh, sorry, Councillor White.
Sorry, do we need a motion to amend that to include? Yeah.
Or to include?
Sean.
I think that my recommendation was back to the community reference group that they would actually send a copy of the petition as well to Sean. I think, yeah. Councillor Hindmarsh.
If I may, through the chair, I'd like to move that this resolution be endorsed by council.
Thank you. I'll just read out the resolution and then we'll have you as a mover. So the resolution is that the petition from Pat Ohl on behalf of the Bluff Community Reference Group be received and noted by Central Highlands Regional Council. Oh, sorry, be received and noted, and that Central Highlands Regional Council will refer the petition to... Oh, sorry, no, we're getting there. Okay, I'll just read that again. So that the petition from Pat Ohl on behalf of the Blackwater Community Reference Group, Bluff Community Reference Group be received and noted. Further, that Central Highlands Regional Council will refer the petition to the federal member for Flynn, Colin Boyce MP. Okay. Moved by Councillor Hindmarsh, seconded by Councillor Wilkins. All in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. So moving on to section 12, decision action reports. And the first item is 12.1.1 is the Queensland Audit Office final management letter on the 23-24 financial statements and audit, and just handing over now to the Chief Financial Officer, Arun Diaz. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the Chair, good morning, councillors. The purpose of this report is to table the QAO final management report in relation to the financial audit of council ending 30th of June 2024. I will now defer to Helen Kirby, our Manager of Finance, to touch on some salient points of the report. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you, CFO, and through the Chair, good morning, councillors. So while I will take the tabled report and attachment as read, I will provide a brief background as to the purpose of the observation reports that are issued by the Queensland Audit Office, and also provide just a quick overview of the internal control issues that were identified in the final management letter for the financial year ended 30th of June 2024. So the Queensland Audit Office conduct a financial audit of council annually, and they issue an opinion on council's financial statements for the relevant financial year. The audit is conducted in two parts, and we refer to these as the interim audit and the final audit. So at the end of each of these audit stages, an observation report is issued. And these reports include observations and suggestions about matters that have arisen from the external audit, and provide recommendations relating to opportunities for improvements in council's processes and procedures. And ultimately, these identified improvements, help support council to deliver better community services. The local government regulation requires that following the receipt of each observation report, it is to be presented to the next ordinary meeting of council. The report on the interim audit was received on the 31st of May, and it was presented at the General Council meeting on the 26th of June. This final observation report that was provided as attachment 1 was received on the 29th of October. However, is not being presented to council until the General Council meeting today. And the reason for this is that it was held over from the November Council meeting so that it could be tabled at the Audit and Risk Committee meeting at their scheduled meeting on the 5th of December. So the report outlines that there were 3 new issues identified during the final audit, which commenced on the 26th of August. 2 of these issues are still in the process of being resolved by management, and 1 where the recommended action has been implemented, however, before being marked as resolved, will need to be cited in action by the external auditors when they are back on site in April or May as part of the 2025 audit or the interim audit. There is also 1 issue identified as part of the interim audit this year that's still being resolved by management in relation to fraud and corruption training. The final management report also provided a status update in relation to 4 issues that were identified in prior financial year audits. 2 of these issues are still in the process of being resolved by management, and 2 are now considered resolved by the external auditors. So in closing, the recommendation is that council receives the final management report from the Queensland Audit Office in relation to the audit for the year ended 30th of June 2024. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Just handing over to councillors if you have any questions or comments. Thank you very much. I know that this item has already been as noted, to the Audit and Risk Committee. So they've had oversight of this report or letter. I think it's a great process. It's actually part of continuous improvement that we have, our audits conducted, internal and external, and the vehicle for them to be going through is the Audit and Risk Committee. So it's great that any items are picked up and and being actioned. So, and it's great that it's coming through to council, that we can make sure that the community knows where and how we're actioning to improve our processes. Yep, I've seen that. Thank you. I have been looking. Councillor Cruz.
Yeah, through the chair, probably just to further to your comments is, I guess for the wider community to know that the chair of our Audit and Risk Committee and another member of the Audit and Risk Committee are independent. So there is that also another level of independent oversight over these things before it even comes back to us, which was, which is another good level of, I guess, looking at how our performance. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Cruz. Very good. Thank you all. If there's no further comments or questions, we'll move to the resolution, which is that the Central Highlands Regional Council receives the final management report in relation to the financial audit for the year ended 20th of June 2024, which was issued to the Mayor by the Australian Audit Office on the 29th of October 2024. If I could have a mover, please. Councillor Cruz, seconder, Councillor Burns, all in favour. Motion carried. Thank you. So moving on now to item 12.1.2, which is a monthly financial report for November 2024, and again handing over to our Chief Financial Officer, Aaron Diaz. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, in accordance with Section 204 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, a local government must prepare and present a financial report at a meeting of the local government once a month. The report must state the progress that has been made in relation to the budget for the relevant period of the financial year. Also to note, councillors, the finance report presented with the budgets are with the revised BR1 budgets, which was adopted by council at the last GCM. I will now defer to Helen Kirby to present the tabled report to council. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you, CFO, and through the chair. So again, I will take the tabled report and detailed attachments as read. However, before taking questions, I will outline some of the key takeaways from the November report. So as the CFO mentioned, the progress of council's performance and position at the end of November is being measured against the amended budget, which was adopted by council at the last meeting on the 27th of November. So the year-to-date operating surplus at the end of November is 27.3 million, which compares to the year-to-date revised budget of 22.3 million. This favourable result of 4.9 million is the net effect of interest revenue from cash investments exceeding budget and underspends in employee costs. Council's amended capital budget for community infrastructure projects is a little over 26% spent at the end of November. When commitments representing purchase orders raised are included, this percentage increases to 63%. The cash balance at the end of November is 121.5 million and borrowings held with the Queensland Treasury Corporation stand at 58 million. Section 7 of the tabled report shows the performance of council's business activities against the revised budget, which indicates that all businesses have recorded operating surpluses for the financial year to the end of November. Section 8 of the report shows that combined arrears from rates and water charges are 12.9 million, and during November rates decreased by 1 million, however water balances increased by 2.6 million. The increase in water arrears reflects the due date of the first half water levy falling on the 28th of November. For reference, I will just quickly point out that there is a minor error in the report at this section with the due date of the levy being noted as the 28th of October when it should instead of the 28th of November, so apologies for that. Debt recovery actions during November included over 1,813 reminder notices being sent to property owners with amounts still outstanding from the first half rates levy. and 108 property owners were issued with a statement of claim for amounts still outstanding from last year's second half rates and water notices, and also arrears relating to this current year's first half rates notice. So in closing, the recommendation is that Council adopts the monthly finance report for the period ended 30th of November 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Councillors, any questions or comments at all, please? My only comment, Councillor Wilkins, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, just on page 161, with the arrears by general rating category. I'm just interested in is it not-for-profit? Is that what an FP stands for?
That's correct.
So, do they not get some of their rates, like, for free or whatever? That seems an awful lot in Capella particularly.
So just through the chair, so with our not-for-profit rebates, some receive 100% rebate of the general rate, while others only a 50% rebate of the general rate.
Okay.
So there are some, and it's also important to note that some of those arrears may be in payment arrangements as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm also curious about the coal mining and gas. Seem to be quite a few outstanding there as well, or money-wise anyway.
Yep, so just through the chair. So once again, we'll be following up with those companies. We do have some in-payment arrangements as well. Okay. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. If there's no other comments, once again, thank you very much for a very, very comprehensive monthly report. Thank you very much. And moving on to the recommendation or resolution, there is that the Central Highlands Regional Council adopts the monthly financial report for the period ended 30th of November 2024. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Whiteman, seconder, Councillor Highmarsh. All in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you. So we have nil reports for communities, nil reports for commercial and corporate services, nil reports for infrastructure and utilities, nil reports for people, safety and legal, nil reports from the Chief Executive Officer's area. And moving now to decisions, action, reports, closed session. There's nil reports there. Information reports, 14.1, Chief Financial Officer, the nil reports. Moving on to 14.2, communities, which is item 14.2.1, which is the Yamala Enterprise Area Planning Study. So handing over now to both the General Manager for Infrastructure and Utilities and General Manager for Communities. Thank you, Jason Houlihan and Adrian Burns. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good morning, councillors. I'll take the report as read and the associated attachment of the planning study. But in a summary, the Yamala Enterprise Area, which I'll refer to as the YEA throughout the presentation, is located approximately 22 kilometres east of Emerald. The YEA has been developing as an industrial precinct since the development of the cotton gin in the 1980s. In 2014, the Department of Transport and Main Roads identified Yamala as a preferred site for the inland port, intended to provide a multifunction and multi-user facility for the transportation of goods and materials. As a result of this, the YEA then increased to include the land parcels which are identified in the Industry Investigation Zone under the Central Highlands Regional Council Planning Scheme in 2016. Whilst most of the development of the YEA has occurred in the special industry zone to date, the planning scheme identifies that prior to any development occurring in the industry investigation zone at Yamala, further investigations and structure planning exercises that set out to a coordinated development and site management strategy are to be carried out and approved. Therefore, the future development of the precinct beyond the current special industry zone required that a planning and infrastructure assessment be carried out to guide the growth of the area. As a result of this, Council commenced the YEA planning study in 2013. The assessment has included an analysis of constraints, limitations and opportunities within the YEA. The YEA planning study has been prepared in consultation with over 30 stakeholders, high-level evaluation of the development potential of the land included within the YEA, which aims to guide Council in relation to how the precinct could develop in the future, and consider the following in more detail. So land use and zoning patterns, industrial land supply and demand, potential future users and uses of the YEA, site structure planning considering future rail and road linkages, topography, drainage and infrastructure provisions, infrastructure planning and staging to understand the development sequencing of the area. Recommendations to improve future planning scheme amendments would be a result of the study. The report is made up of a structure plan and a land use assessment plan, economic assessment and the infrastructure needs assessment. So it's a multi-part study. The YEA planning study was informed by extensive stakeholder consultation with both at the outset of the study and again to obtain feedback in relation to the draft structure and land use plan. The study has resulted in the development of several key findings and conclusions in relation to the future of the area. One is I'll go through these now. So the developer pays model. There is a need for any development proponent to fund required infrastructure upgrades within the YEA. It looks at the potential land demand. So the economic assessment identified that the potential demand of land within the YEA to be only 51 to 85 hectares, which has resulted in the proposed contraction of the zoning identified in the original land use plan. Stakeholder support for and feedback. There is overwhelming support for the precinct amongst state government, peak bodies, supply chains and logistics stakeholders. There's an identification of water requirements for potential future users, rail and road interaction requirements, need for staging of the YEA, zoning specific to most appropriate future uses, protection of drainage corridors and catchments, stormwater management and the need for power upgrades, along with the identification that no new sewer treatment plant or sewage network required within the area. The Yamala Enterprise Area Planning Study is a strategic internal document that will be considered as part of the future planning scheme amendments and impact accessible development applications. These processes require public notification to occur, and as such, there will be future opportunity for both councillors and the community to have input in relation to the development of the YEA. The Yamala Enterprise Area Planning Study does not in any way bind Council to any future commitment regarding infrastructure servicing of the YEA. Happy to take the report, Council, as read, and then happy to take any questions.
Good. Thank you very much. Councillor Cypher.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Great report. Yesterday we sat here at a deputation with the Ratepayers Association, and I'd like to note that Peter Mondrell spoke very favourably of this the YEA area, and spoke about the importance of this development of this area for future industry development for our region. He spoke about the importance of a pipeline to provide water, not just to the inland port, but to the future expansion of this area. And he also spoke about the long journey and the the necessity of rail linkages, not just to this site, but across our great state. I was very relieved, actually, to hear of the emphasis that that group has placed on the Yamala Enterprise area and the acknowledgement that it is the future area for growth, industry growth development for this area. So it was very timely that this report came after what I consider an endorsement from the ratepayers for this region to be progressed.
Good. Thank you, Councillor Cypher. And just to make sure it's the Central Highlands Ratepayers Association, just to make sure I got that. So are there any other comments or questions? No. From my perspective, absolutely concur with Councillor Cypher and Peter Mondrell's comments yesterday. It reminded me of how long it's been that council and the developer himself have been working on this project and had a vision for how to grow not just Emerald, but the region. So, but from my perspective, I think everybody was much awaiting this report, and it was interesting reading in the report the number of reports that have been done over the years as we've been progressing with decision making. And finally, I think that this report, while it says it's issued to inform council's internal planning, there's a lot of good information in the report that's going to be beneficial. So by adopting it now at the council meeting, it can be released publicly, which I think that a lot of people have been waiting for to see the outcome. So it's really important to thank all the stakeholders that have been part of this. And I know that, this report is another step in council's continuous support of the project. And although I noted that the report was issued to council on the 28th of June this year, it has taken time, even for us as a new council, to go through all the many things that have come before us, and we've finally been able to, as a council group, actually be discussing the Yamala Enterprise area as well. So, and I know it was an action that came out of those discussions to have the report brought forward, and there'll be continuing items that we need to be looking at going forward. So thank you very much. And if there's no further questions or comments, thank you. Like I say, there'll be a lot of people waiting to see the outcomes of the report. So I'm just moving to the resolution. I've got I won't call you my sidekick, but keeping me moving today. So we like to put our resolution. Thank you to Jason and Adrian and all the staff and everybody that's been involved. This is a big report, so thank you. So the resolution is that the Central Highlands Regional Council receives the update in relation to the Yamala Enterprise Area Planning Scheme. So can I have a mover? Councillor Cypher. Councillor Cruz, second. Sorry, it was... everyone's keen to be involved. So all in favour? Motion carried. Thank you very much. So moving on to item 14.3, 3, commercial and corporate services. So the item number is 14.3.1, Councillor Update Airport, December 2024. Handing over to the corporate services.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, councillors. The manager airport, Brian Griggs, was planning on being here this morning, but he's been held up attending to the runway survey that's happening today, which is a priority, of course. So I will try my best to get through his report today. Before you is the report that provides an update to councillors in relation to activities that have occurred at the Emerald Airport and the aerodrome landing areas we have across the region. Regional airports, as we can appreciate, are essential for local economies. They boost jobs, business and tourism. They provide crucial connectivity, support emergency services and improve access to healthcare and essential services. The Emerald Airport is the only publicly available high-capacity airport in the region. It is the 12th largest in Queensland and ranks 35th nationwide, maintaining its reputation for exceptional service. It supports over 500 dedicated freight flights and nearly 600 medevac operations, which is roughly 10 a week, while hosting 2 public passenger airlines and 4 charter airlines operating weekly. Council operates also a network of aerodrome landing areas throughout the region for light aircraft. These landing areas are critical in terms of transport for private agricultural operations and commercial charter flight operations, as well as vital facilities for emergencies and the Royal Flying Doctor Service. Several upgrades have occurred across our airport and aerodrome landing strips in recent times. Notably, the Springshore Aerodrome had a full runway reseal. This will protect against wear and deterioration and ensure that the runway stays usable in the near future and for a long while. Work is underway on an extensive $3.3 million drainage improvement project at the Emerald Airport. This is a 3-month project which will address natural soil movement caused by moisture retention. This work will help ensure Emerald Airport remains compliant with regulatory standards whilst improving safety for users of the airport. The project received $1.6 million in the Regional Airport Upgrade Program, grant funding from the Australian Government. Both the Springshore Aerodrome and the Emerald Airport projects are part of Council's broader strategy to maintain infrastructure across the region. Welcome, Brian.
Welcome, Brian. Just in the nick of time.
I will hand over to Brian to speak to the AAA conference that happened in November.
Okay. Thank you. Through the chair. The AAA conference is a 4-day conference and this time held in Brisbane. It's our annual event run by the Airport Association. It gives us a lot of insight into what's in the industry in the future and just where things stand. There were some quite interesting developments from the government perspective. They've released the white paper and that helps give a target for the next 25 years for funding. A lot of that is to help as well as regional areas. A lot of it's for SAF and other environmental activities. One of the leading interest stories, I suppose you could say, was the development of the autonomous aircraft that's been happening at a huge rate. A couple of years ago, they were expecting that they might have a couple flying by 2032 with the Olympics. Now there's actually, with support from Boeing, there's likely to be autonomous aircraft flying around from Brisbane by end of next year. So these are 4-seater aircraft. So the industry is moving on very fast. as far as using technology. Okay, patient transfer hub, that's progressing slowly but surely. We've now got the designers locked in. We've got contractor designers now doing all the airside works. So there's quite a lot of work to do on the apron to allow everything to fit into the apron and then link to the RFDS pod. The RFDS have also been doing a lot of work to realign where the hub and the hangar go to make it as efficient as practical. So there's been a lot of background work, but in reality, for seeing something on the ground, it'll probably be about end of the financial year, say next May, June time, by the time we get into construction. Statistics of the RFDS pod. Sorry. No.
Just over the page.
Okay. Our passenger numbers have continued to grow. We're growing at a rate of about 4%. That compares to the Australian average, which is about 6% in passenger transport. So we're actually heading towards getting close to 220,000 passengers if it continues like this till the end of the financial year, which is the numbers that we're seeing during the peak of the development of the mines in 2012 and 14. Last financial year, we had 4,961 aircraft landings in total, of which 2,051 were RPT landings. The Embraer E190 jets that have been coming since May as basically our replacement aircraft for the Qantas Dash 8 turboprop aircraft. We're receiving typically around 24 aircraft E190 jets a week, with only 4 or 5 Dash 8s a week left on the schedules. Okay, happy to take any questions.
Handing over to councillors. Councillor Wilkins.
Just for my own thing. So you're talking about the autonomous aircraft.
Yes.
So that's as in like a drone, but carrying passengers? Did you say?
Yeah, autonomous aircraft, aircraft without pilots.
I'm just a little bit scared. So, but they are passenger carrying, so it's not just a drone.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's basically a worldwide shortage of pilots, well, all aircrew for that matter, and they foresee that certainly in the bracket of aircraft below 30 seaters, the worldwide expectation is that a lot of that area will be filled with autonomous aircraft, so no pilot at all. So it'll be controlled by one person controlling many of them, sat in their study at home or whatever they happen to be. And it'll basically be flying everything on its own. They expect that will be the way it's going, and they expect a lot of those flights won't actually be as RPT. They'll basically be a Uber type situation, and you can order up aircraft to suit. So,
Holy cow!
yeah, it's a big change.
Yeah, I think I've been watching air crash investigations a bit too much.
Can't blame the pilot.
So, because I mean, you know, there's a fair few that I see there are that there's something gone wrong with the electronics, and the pilot is struggling to fight against the you know, the computer to take control and things like that. So heaven forbid not having a pilot there. Sorry, it does scare me a little bit.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkins. I thought you were going to say you were watching the Jetsons, and perhaps, you know, some of this future is coming true. Councillor Whiteman.
As somebody who's worked extensively around autonomous vehicles, that terrifies me. Can I still drive?
You can still drive to Brisbane, yes. Interesting thing is where the CHRC and Air Services, the autonomous vehicles come in, is actually to take the people that are, for instance, come to Emerald, and we become the hub for the autonomous vehicles going to mine sites, going to Rocky, going to Townsville, so that's where they see that will open up the market for more direct flights to other smaller areas. So it's quite an interesting development. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Councillor Donaldson.
At our last meeting for the airport, it was mentioned that there could be an opportunity for our airport to go into this field. A very exciting sort of opportunity. I'm thinking that we could maybe do a study, because as we know, we've got a lot of mining around here. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but we could, if you had a choice, maybe if a mining vehicle was to fly autonomous in a certain route, obviously, it'd be all pre-planned. If the choice was made there, drive your car for an hour to get the mine, or get in one of these drones, so-called drones, and be there in 15 minutes, I wouldn't like to be the first passenger. But as you know, the aviation industry is very well regulated, and especially in Australia. But I think there's opportunity for maybe the Boeing company or one of them to come here and maybe do some study, see if it's viable, or because I can see an opportunity there to do something in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you. My mind boggles there, but I'm sure that that will all be part of our investigations of opportunities going forward with the airport for sure. Thank you. It's great to know that you guys were talking about that at the Airport Advisory Committee meeting. So thank you. I think from my perspective, I was quite shocked actually to see how quickly the E190s are now becoming most of the flights into Emerald. And also, again, like those statistics are always mind-boggling. And I think that we also forget that Council does do a lot of work at the Emerald Airport, but that we do have a number of other strips and landing areas that we look after across the region. So your area of responsibility is much bigger than just looking after the Emerald Airport, the same as the Advisory Committee. And the other, of course, important project is the RFDS Patient Transfer Hub. I know that Emerald Rotary and the community organisations, businesses right across the region have been very generous to make sure that that's a facility that we've got for everybody that needs to be using or have the medical evacuations. Noting here another statistic of approximately 10 a week. So if you multiply that by 52 weeks of the year, that's 520 approximately. So it's a very worthy cause. And I know that there's probably some of the other services like Angel Flight and others that would use that facility as well. So thank you. Very good. Well, thank you very much. Oh, Councillor Hindmarsh.
Through the chair, just to continue on from what Councillor Donaldson was saying with the opportunities in the autonomous, you just mentioned about the patient transfer. That was something that we discussed at the meeting as well, at the advisory board meeting, that these autonomous aircraft could be utilised interregional for transfer of patients from the likes of Springsure Hospital to the main centre here in Emerald, and the like. In the future, that's a possibility that we briefly touched on as well. So it's albeit there's going to be some hesitation from people moving towards these things. I think as a region, and we are looking for opportunities in the future to bring industry to this region. I think this is something that if we can get on the front foot with it, it could develop into something that's very worthwhile.
Very good. Thank you very much. And it's great that, these options for innovation and planning ahead and having these visions is being shared and discussed, and you guys are thinking about that, or sorry, should I say, the committee are thinking about that with staff. So thank you. Councillor Wilkins.
I certainly think it'll be great for like cargo transport, so, be a good thing for something like Aussie Post. But also, if you're on board, can it be changed from autonomous to manual? Like if you're going down and you want to get in the cockpit and do something, and you're a pilot.
If you want to jump out early. The current aircraft allow flying a pilot from inside, but that's not the intent. That's just in this development phase that they're expecting to do this. They'll have like a abort type ability, so you can hit an abort button and it'll go and just land straight away or something like that. Allow for somebody that's suddenly sick in the aircraft or something like that. So yes, that's something that's the sort of stuff that they've got captured in there already.
Good. Thank you. Acting CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to be a damp squib or to curb people's enthusiasm for wonderful technology, but I suspect that these advancements might come sometime after we allow autonomous vehicles on the road, which hasn't happened yet, and is still quite a few years away. So I doubt that they're going to allow autonomous planes before they allow autonomous cars or buses or trains. So I think we're a little way off.
Thank you. Councillor Whiteman.
Through the chair, my comment. Through the chair, my comment was that I believe that if you're in an autonomous aeroplane and it's going down, the fact of whether or not it has a control centre for you to attack is the least of your concerns.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for a great report and great discussion. So moving on to the resolution that the Central Highlands Regional Council receives the council update in relation to airport operations for the Emerald Airport and Aerodrome Landing Areas, the ALAs. Can I have a mover, please? Mover, Councillor Donaldson. Seconder, Councillor Whiteman. All in favour? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 14.4.1, Councillor Update, Infrastructure and Utilities, Emerald Asphalt Works. So handing over now to Acting Chief Executive Officer, Ross Musgrove.
I think I'm just going to hand over to the General Manager of Infrastructure.
I wasn't sure which one I was supposed to, but thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and apologies for that. That authorising officer should have been myself. So, Council, thank you for the opportunity to present this report. Council has allocated $1.4 million to rural road resurfacing and $2.2 million to urban road resurfacing in the 2024-2025 capital budget. As part of this program, Council has recently completed part of the urban program by resurfacing streets within Emerald, these being a section of Anarchy Street, Bats Place, a section of Barilla Street, Dennis Lane, Esmond Street, Ruby Street, School Lane and Teresa Street. Resurfacing roads assist with improving safety and extending asset life by providing additional waterproofing, improved grip and skid resistance, and in some cases, strengthening of the pavement. To complete these projects, line marking will be reinstated on these roads once the asphalt is fully cured. The projects were done with significant stakeholder engagement to limit the impact to the community, including weekend work where appropriate. We would like to thank the community for their cooperation throughout the project. Attached in the report, councillors, you'll see some works, photos of the works in progress, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Good, thank you. Councillor Wilkins.
So just querying where the rural roads, I can't say that probably, where that's happening, or?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. So the rural road, so that the $1.4 million of rural roads is spread across the region. So it might be a section of work that we're doing currently down at near Acadia Valley. So we try and incorporate that with some maintenance work on those rural areas to get better value for money. Happy to provide a list of those roads at a separate time if required.
Thank you, that would be great.
Awesome, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much. I think, just want to say thank you very much. I know a few people, locals in Emerald, have said thank you. It's great that we're getting these roads done. So, and my only question was with the line marking, so does that happen next?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So, good question. So, typically with asphalt, it has a time period to cure. So, when asphalt is laid, it has an excess of oils and things like kerosene within the asphalt. You have to wait for that to evaporate out of the asphalt to fully cure. Otherwise, the line marking will turn yellow very quickly. So, it's usually about a 2 to 3 month period. It can take up to 12 months depending on the weather. But typically, we'll try and reinstate it as soon as it's practical.
Good. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that. I learn something every day. Councillor Cruz.
Through the Chair, I was just going to say thank you for the report, and I guess it's probably just to make note, naturally with what comes with, any sort of roadworks, there are always little minor inconveniences, but they are far outweighed by the benefit of this program, so just wanted to point that out.
Yep, absolutely, and thank the community for their patience. Beaut, thank you very much. So moving on to the resolution, which is for the Central Highlands Regional Council receives the councillor update in relation to the Emerald Township asphalt works. If I could have a mover, please. Councillor Wilkins, second to Councillor Newman. All in favour? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jason. So moving through now to the item number 16, which is late agenda item. So we received a late agenda item. Which is decision decision action 1.1, request from the Minister of Economic Development Queensland to draft planning instrument change to revocate Blackwater and Blackwater East priority development areas. So handing over now to General Manager Communities, Adrian Burns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillors. As councillors may be aware, the revocation of the PDA at Blackwater has been on the table for some while. As a result of a very successful meeting between the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor and the CEO and Bruce Mills as part of their attendance in Brisbane to meet ministers last week, we have been able to fast track this process, which is why this has come as a late report. The state government were supportive of us fast tracking it and have given us indications that they will attend to it promptly as well. And we are currently seeking council permission to create the PIC. I'm going to hand over to Kirsten Byrne, who may raise and just cover some salient points for councillors' understanding, because I understand that, I realise this is a late report and you may not have had time to fully digest the report.
Thank you. And just to clarify that a PIC is a planning instrument change.
That's correct. Through the Mayor, and good morning, councillors, and Merry Christmas to all those streaming online for our last meeting. The team and I really appreciate the opportunity to table a late report as the last meeting of the year in relation to something that's really important. This project, as Adrian mentioned, has been going along in the background since 2016 and has been waiting on a letter from our Minister of Economic Development Queensland since 2021. So we needed that letter to enable Council to seek a resolution to prepare the planning instrument change and associated documentation. So I'll refer to it as a PIC in short for the rest of the little discussion today, because it is a bit of a mouthful. Whilst we'll take the report as read, I did just want to indulge a brief snapshot on why we're here and what the PIC is. So since 2014, Blackwater North of the Capricorn Highway has been included within 2 priority development areas, or PDAs for short, under the Economic Development Act. So they are broken up into Blackwater Priority Development Area, which was declared in 2010, and then the Blackwater East Priority Development Area, which was declared in 2014. So whilst Council has been a decision maker for applications that have been lodged within both these priority development areas since the 4th of July 2016, it still means that the PDAs are governed by 2 different planning schemes, which are unique to Blackwater and Blackwater East. And as we can appreciate, the CHRC planning scheme has evolved extensively since then, with a number of major planning scheme amendments which respond to the economic needs of the region, what's happening at the time, and then any overlays and mapping changes that impact. So the idea of the PIC and the consultation which we've commenced with residents in Blackwater since 2023 is about bringing Blackwater and Blackwater East back into the planning scheme and having one planning scheme for our entire region. So following a resolution today, if favourable for Council to enable the officers to prepare the PIC, the next steps that would occur would be that Council would prepare the PIC and supporting documentations, which includes the community engagement plan. We then take that to Council to seek a resolution to send that to the state government so that we can commence public notification with the community. The Minister and the team would then review the documentation and give Council the approval to proceed to public notification. We then undertake public notification for a period of 30 business days, which is prescribed under the Economic Development Act. After that, we, like a normal planning scheme amendment process, we review the submissions and include any potential revisions that may come about from the consultation process. We draft a public response report for publication on our website, which factors in the submissions and how we're treating them, if there are any changes to the document, or whether or not there were submissions that can't actually be treated as part of a planning instrument change. The PIC then goes back to the Minister with the public consultation outcomes, and then the Minister makes a final determination, and if approved, Council publishes the decision, and then we go through that formal process of adopting the PIC and bringing Blackwater back into the planning scheme. So Adrian touched on it, but I just really wanted to say thank you to our mayor, our deputy mayor, our acting CEO, and our external affairs and advisory manager who met with the deputy premier recently to enable the swift progress for this. I've been here since 2017, and it's been something that we've been trying to advocate for many years. So we just want some certainty to the Blackwater community for future planning for their wonderful community. And then I also just wanted to say thank you to the team at CHRC and EDQ who have been advocating for this in the back end. We've just been caught up in a little bit of a red tape cycle. So it's a great position that we're in, and something nice to end the year on, which gives me great joy. So I'll hand over if there's any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Newman.
Through the chair, I would just like to congratulate the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and CEO for progressing this. It has been a long, outstanding issue for the residents of Blackwater North, and I'm sure we'd all like to see some clarity and some progress here to streamline the working process for that area for everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Newman. Councillor Whiteman.
I also would like to congratulate the team that's been working on this. Two questions. Ballpark figure, how many months is this going to take?
Through the mayor, my team will probably kill me about my ambition with timeline for this. So we have been working really hard in the back end to prepare all of the documentation to get it ready. So we're expecting to, and subject to our GM and acting CEO, have a strategy session with council as soon as possible in the new year. And obviously Marnie is the gatekeeper of those sessions so that we can take it to a strategy session, the PIC and all of the associated documentation. So in my ambition, I would love to get this before council by February so we can send it back to the minister. Now, the minister has a time frame for reviewing that and getting it back, but from the feedback that was received from the state last week, I don't think there should be any delays. Because we've been working so closely with the officers at EDQ in the back end, we've really tic-tacked over the policy, proposed policy items within the PIC, and essentially to simplify planning, it's colours on a map that we want to make consistent with CHRC. So just making really smart decisions about what's there now and what's in our scheme and how it should best align. So from that, you've got then the minister to make a decision. We then go out to public consultation for the 30 business days. And then after that, you probably give about a 2-month period to go through the submissions. So I would love to say by Christmas next year, we might have a planning instrument change adopted. But there are a number of factors that can delay that. But the team are going to work as efficiently as possible to do that. So.
Thank you. That's a very comprehensive answer at short notice, and I appreciate it.
And if I may, just through the chair, add to that. I wouldn't normally add to that because this is Kirsten's area, but I received an email about 2 minutes before she started talking from the state government. They had indicated that they will fast track this and they would anticipate us having something to them by February. They do need to give it to, have to do a state interest check on it. They've indicated that may take about 2 weeks, but they have promised that they will fast track it because I shared with them today this was coming on the agenda, and I received an email a couple of minutes ago.
And second question is, what happens to any applications that are made between now and then under the current PDA?
They are treated under the scheme in place when they are submitted. So any application now until this PDA is revoked will be treated under the PDA.
So once the PDA is revoked, then what happens to those submissions if they haven't gone full?
Go on, you can answer about this, Sylvie.
So say, for instance, if the revocation is finalised by 30th of November next year and there's still an application live afoot, it still follows the assessment under the legislation that it was lodged under, right. And then the decision is made, and then, any new applications from that date that the change takes effect goes on at you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Acting CEO.
Yeah, thank you. To answer your question, Councillor Whiteman, the discussion with the Deputy Premier was very much about closing in the timeframes. He's very keen to get this done by about July, completed. So that was the instruction. Am I correct in that, Councillor Cruz? Yes. That was the instruction from him to his department, and the discussion that was held with the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor was, and why we're here today, is to tighten those timeframes up to the shortest possible. He was expressed disappointment it had taken so long, and is a man of action and wants to see this resolved as quickly as possible. As do we.
That's right. Absolutely. Councillor Cypher.
Thank you. One of the major delays in doing this was non-compliance issues. So I know previous councils have worked hard to address the non-compliance issues, or not us address them, but have them addressed prior to us taking over or moving this into our scheme. Where were we at with all the non-compliance that was allowed under this scheme? Because we don't want to inherit a whole heap of non-compliance that is well known in that community.
Thank you, Councillor Cypher. So a great question, and for our new councillors who may not have been part of those discussions, there was, as Councillor Cypher alluded to, some significant compliance issues. So if I break it down, there was infrastructure non-compliance with subsidence issues in a couple of the estate areas. So when the maintenance period expired on those applications, as part of council's role within those applications, council actually accepted those applications off maintenance, if you would. So then council is responsible for any rectification that occurs from there. There was a separate matter in relation to outstanding infrastructure charges. So whilst council has been undertaking an infrastructure charges project since 2020 to recover outstanding infrastructure charges, EDQ was similarly undertaking their own. And now we touched on it in the report, but there is still an outstanding amount of infrastructure charges, if I go back up to it, to the tune of 261,121. So EDQ has decided that they're not going to pursue further those outstanding charges. So that is something that will be part of another report to council about how we're actually going to treat them. We're still actively in the process of dealing with our council infrastructure charges recovery process. So it is only a small number of applications that make up that $260,000 amount. So yeah, we did mention as part of that compliance audit, we will table a separate report to council as part of what that looks like. EDQ have been very firm that they're not going to progress those charges. So yeah, there's that matter for consideration as well too, on how we deal with them.
Very good. Thank you. Councillor Cruz.
Yeah, through the chair, I guess, for a bit of background, I think the first Blackwater PDA was established or declared in July 2010, and with a area of 150 hectares, and then the Blackwater East was declared in June 2013 with a size of 130 hectares. So I guess any benefits of the provisions of the PDA now sort of are far outweighed by the benefits of council being able to make assessment under the same planning scheme that guides development across the region. So that's the importance of what we're sort of discussing here. But I just wanted to touch a little bit on the advocacy. So advocacy at a local government level is crucial because it's the outcomes from it have substantial impacts on our residents, both now and into the future, which we can see with this particular agenda item. So this letter has been received within 1 week of the meeting being held with the Deputy Premier. The speed at which this response has come in his capacity as Minister for State Development, Infrastructure and Planning highlights the importance and efficacy of this type of targeted advocacy and engagement, and also the ongoing relationships that we must maintain. During this meeting, it was very evident that the Deputy Premier could see the benefits and need to expedite this process while still adhering to the current statutory requirements, including public notification periods, prior to submitting for his ultimate approval. And I just want to make special mention to everyone in the planning department and within council who's ensured that we are in a position to take full advantage of his keen interest in advancing the important issue forthwith. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah, and thanking our Deputy Premier as well as... No, I was talking about the Deputy Premier that we met. Did I?
Yeah.
I was pointing to you. So I've confused everyone. So, no, I just wanted to acknowledge, when we did our advocacy, but building on from what Councillor Cruz was saying, that the Deputy Premier we thank him very much. We thank also our acting CEO, Ross, and also our External Affairs and Advocacy Manager, Bruce Mills, for organising the meetings because it was very good to be able to actually go into those meetings when we're with people that actually know the DG and the Deputy Premier, and also extremely thankful too to I think it was another letter here, it mentions Kylie, but definitely the Economic Development Queensland as well, representative that was there, and very obliging. So, yeah, we thank them for their quick action to concur with our Deputy Mayor, with our correspondence from our Deputy Premier. But yeah, so it's very successful, and like you say, it's a great initiative or action to be progressing definitely at this time of the year. So, and a long time coming. So, but again, with caution to make sure that we're not inheriting things that we don't want to be inheriting as well. So, but yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the report. Thank you to all the team. And if there's no further questions, Councillor Burns, I've got you marked. So our resolution is that the Central Highlands Regional Council endorses the preparation of a planning instrument change under S42A1 of the Economic Development Act 2012, which will reintegrate the areas subject to the Blackwater and Blackwater East Priority Development Areas back into the Central Highlands Regional Council Planning Scheme 2016. Mover is Councillor Burns, seconder Councillor Whiteman. All in favour? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. So moving on now to item number 17, notice of motion, nil, and moving now to general business items. If any of the councillors have any general business items. Councillor Hindmarsh.
If I may, through the chair. So, after many discussions with community members and multiple phone calls and my own experience, it's evident that the rollout of the 5G network has not been as successful as it was indicated that it was going to be. There's been a considerable decrease in reception within the outer regions due to the 3G shutdown. 5G was sold to us all as being more than adequate to not only replace the 3G network, but enhance the overall coverage or reception within all regions. However, the opposite has been most evident. I'd like to ask through the appropriate channels that council support an investigation or at least ask for an investigation to be held into the implementation of the 5G service and its failures, if that's appropriate.
Yep. I think it is, but I'll take advice from the other councillors or our acting CEO on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, communications is like the postal thing is a federal issue. Would you like to perhaps have council take this up with a local member, Colin Boyce, MP? Would that be a sort of resolution that you were seeking?
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking for a way forward on this, as to how we come to some sort of get some sort of investigation. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in communities and our outlying communities that are desperately disappointed with what's happening. They don't see it. There's for ourselves in those communities, any consultation that they've had with the providers has in most cases not been. There's been no improvement in the service. They've had no way forward offered. So that's what I'm presenting here today or asking for here today is that we, as a council, we support them and in trying to find a way forward to resolve this issue. Whether it be going to, and that's the thing. I'm not certain as to how to progress it. I'm asking the question.
I've just had a thought. So, yes, we can certainly raise it with the local MP, Colin Boyce, and you could move a motion to direct that.
Yep.
But also in the first week of February, the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, CEO and the advocacy manager, Bruce Mills, are going to be in Canberra. We can get a meeting with both the current Minister for Communications and the opposition spokesperson for communications. Just as we spent last week in Brisbane doing meetings, we're going to have another week. Obviously, I won't be here, the new CEO will be here, but that is the absolute perfect opportunity to raise this at the highest levels.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's a deputation with the Minister for Communications, the local member and the shadow.
Yep, thank you. So we...
Like a resolution.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So we can make a resolution now we'll just get the wording. And I noted, like, while we were in Brisbane as well, raised it with a couple of the ministers, just to make sure, even though they're not responsible, but it's still advocating for our region. Early February, yeah.
That's why you need the shadow as well.
Shadow, that's right. Yep.
Can I just ask councillors just to turn their mind to what we've
Yep.
properly reflects discussions. Sorry.
Thank you, Marnie. I think the only thing potentially in there is that meetings with the federal.
There is only one.
Okay.
There's only one.
Anyway, for me, that's confusing whether it be state or federal, but
I wouldn't put in just 5G, I would put in shortcomings of telecommunications because there's a whole range of issues, not just 5G, so I don't want a resolution to indicate 5G only when it is black spots. It is a whole range of issues, so I would just, the shortcomings of telecommunication network.
Everybody okay with that generally?
Yes.
Maybe just say including the 5G rollout.
Sure. Yep, as long as it's not restricted to.
Just need go.
yeah, we'll just do one at a time. Councillor Seifer?
I think.
I'm on.
Yeah, so we just, Councillor Homarsh.
I guess we change it to suit the whole scenario. That's, mine was specifically about the closing down of the 3G network and the rolling out of the 5G. But to include, I think that's going to cover it. What's up there now for what mine?
Through the chair, if it was, I guess if you go down there, you know, you can talk about the shortcomings of the whole network, but to be able to, you know, essentially what are we asking for is to look at what's happened with the 5G rollout and the rollback of 3G. If you do a blanket approach, you may very well get a blanket answer rather than a more targeted one. So I'm just wondering whether there is the benefit of including the 5G rollout and the 3G rollback, I guess, and then when you're down there, you can target what you're actually going to speak to them about, so that, because obviously you have a narrow window.
Especially if you only get 15 minutes.
Yeah, through the mayor, can I support that? When you're meeting with ministers, you've got to be very targeted in what you're talking about, and you might have 10 things you really want to, you know, that you could talk about, but you really got to keep it tight to what's your real priority, because if you try and have a shotgun approach, you tend to end up with nothing, in my experience.
And as long as we've got the resolution clear, then as we prepare to go down there, that we make sure that we meet that resolution as much as possible, given, you know, our timeframes, and also it might be that we're able to prepare some collateral or information that we can also leave as well. So, yeah, we can, exactly what Councillor Cruz is saying, we can refine what we actually do prior to that meeting. Very good. Yeah, I know, but Councillor Newman was waiting to. Were you going to still talk to this one,
No.
Councillor?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I thought I'll just close this one out first. So, Councillor Newman, did you have comments to this point?
Yes, through the chair, I agree. The closure of the 3G network and what is perceived locally as the downgrade of the current Telstra 5G network has impacted local businesses. We not only have, it has really undermined a lot of the local economy and services, because when you are on hold in a service, then you drop out on hold. We know what timeframes are to be on hold for any service providers. The expectation is that we provide more services online, and the connectivity is vital. It also impacts our tourist industry, so we need to look at the Black Spot program, but the downgrade in service delivery is paramount to the economy, the local economy in particular.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Newman. So if everyone's happy, we'll adopt the motion. And I think if it covers enough councillors, then you know what actually happens going forward will be refined. Yeah. So so we'll put the motion that Central Highlands Regional Council seeks meetings with the Federal Minister of Communications and the Federal Shadow Minister of Communications for the first week in February 2025 to raise the shortcomings of telecommunication networks, including the Telstra 5G rollout for the Central Highlands region. All happy? Mover, Councillor Hindmarsh. Seconder, Councillor Donaldson. All in favour? Motion carried. Thank you very much. So we're still in general business. If anybody has anything else to discuss. Councillor Cypher.
Yes, I'd, at the recent Central Highlands Local Disaster Management Group, the matter of urban addressing was raised again. This was triggered by the minutes of the Gemfields Satellite Emergency Advisory Committee. They raised it on July the 9th, 2024. The item in the Gemfields Advisory Committee, item 18, read, urban addressing in towns such as Capella needs to be raised again at the council level. Council has an urban and rural addressing policy which has been, I've just got to put a pair of glasses on, sorry, which has been strongly debated over many years. Council to date has not committed to the responsibility of installing numbers to existing urban houses, as was the case for rural addressing. Council's policy on rural and urban addressing for the urban sector has very strict guidelines, and I personally believe that council should take a responsibility for the installation of the first lot of numbering. This would only be for existing housing and not new builds. The Central Highlands Local Disaster Management Group moved a resolution on the 4th of December meeting to read, urban addressing numbers be raised again at the council level for consideration for funding allocation for the implementation of urban numbering on existing houses across the region. Additionally, council consult with the Gemfields QAS in relation to a platform they have established to facilitate addressing for claims in the Gemfields area, noting that claims are not council's responsibility, but they, for the safety of the community living on claims, the QAS has actually developed their own platform so that they can have GPS locations to know where people are living when they're called out. The need for this urban numbering has been driven over many years by QAS, because if you live in a community that doesn't have housing and you're a relief driver for the ambulance or any emergency services and you're not familiar with the town, it can cost a life. And we've had some near misses. We always seem to think it's extremely important in the rural sector, but we disregard the need for this in urban areas. So this is, again, if anyone would like to read the urban addressing policy, it's in the rural urban addressing policy, and there's just a small extract in that policy that states that it is at the expense of the landholder, and then there's all these I was going to say regulations, but regulations on the sizing, the colouring, the font, the whole bloody lot, which would deter, and we do not enforce it. So that policy, in my opinion, is a waste. I have fought for this for many, many years, and if we can provide rural addressing sticks for the first time on rural properties for safety, surely to hell we can do it for our residential people. So I just want that tabled. I have sent that through to Marnie. If you just want to do a cut and paste or a bit of a rejig. I'm not asking for a resolution at this point in time, but I would very strongly suggest that we seriously consider this and get a budget allocation to progressively roll this out through particularly our smaller communities so that safety comes first. It doesn't only come first in the workplace, it comes first in our communities. So thank you.
And thank you, Councillor Cypher. And I remember Comet Community was one of the first communities because they actually did have a death. So doing their urban addressing, if that was never followed up, then sorry.
They did an audit, as they did in Propeller. There was an audit done, and where there was incorrect addressing, they moved them around to the correct, but there was no numbering put on those properties.
Good, thank you for that clarification, because I know it's a serious issue. So, absolutely. So, I'm just trying to work out. General Manager, Infrastructure and Utilities.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Cypher, for your question. I'll take that on note today as the urban and rural addressing policy sits under infrastructure. That will be under my remit. I will take that on notice and come back to council with the appropriate measures, whether that be reviewing the policy or workshopping it in some way to determine a way forward. But at this point, I'll just take that on notice and come back with an appropriate action.
Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Cypher. Councillor Newman.
Through the chair, I would just like it identified that this issue has come up in multiple forums. So to collate all those areas and get all the concerns put forward to be reviewed at once. And we do need to look at the cost to council and the social costs. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cruz.
Through the chair, I was just going to suggest that perhaps this probably does need workshopping, because obviously it's not just the policy, it's that, council has to adhere to the national requirements under the Australian and national New Zealand standard for rural and urban addressing. So that is in line with, frontage, what's your frontage, then, if you've got a double lot, well, then you're 2 to 4, all of those sort of things have to be sort of discussed and made sure that they're correct before we would even think about putting a number on, just in case it was incorrect. And obviously that also involves the rating department as well when they're doing new subdivisions. So it's probably a bigger body of work than just looking at the policy and putting the numbers out. And also there is also legacy issues with regard some QR housing is what is being, in some of the smaller towns, they were what is being used as opposed to the actual street address that council provides. So probably a workshop, I think, would be of more benefit.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Lots of details to think about. Some communities, some households, they don't want numbers up Others don't want, numbers in their gutter, and there's a whole host of things to be looking at. Take on the point too about the cost and how that might be rolled out, because there's a lot of places to roll it out to. But a very, very important, and I'm glad that you mentioned a rural, both have been mentioning rural. That's been something that we've been trying to action through the Bluff Community Reference Group as well. So there might be an opportunity for us to be looking at the urban first and actually looking at our rural and how we're working there to make sure that we've got all the numbering and the GPS coordinates captured as well. Councillor Newman.
I'd just like to add that it's come up at the CRGs, not only the local disaster management groups, and also that property addressing as a separate project or a complementary project needs to be included in that workshop.
Thank you. I can see, yeah.
Councillors, I'll give you a commitment that we'll schedule a workshop for the new year for this and, explore all the issues. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Any other general business? Okay, very good. Thank you, Councillor Hindmarsh and Councillor Cypher. Very good. So moving on now to item number 19, which is community acknowledgements. If anybody has anything there to raise. Councillor Newman.
Through the chair, I'd just like to thank all the small communities. I know all of the councillors here have been involved with meeting with the schools and helping assist their end of year celebrations. So I'd just like to thank all the communities that have invited us into their ceremonies and allowed us to share with those celebrations in each individual community.
Thank you, Councillor Newman. Absolutely. I can see lots of smiling faces there. I think that everybody enjoys those opportunities, especially to see our youth and young people being acknowledged for their achievements and the schools celebrating a successful year. So, yeah, thank you. And I was totally amazed at how far and how wide we've got our schools in the region and invitations that we have to participate in that. So absolutely, thank you to all those communities and schools, and thank you to all the councillors also for getting out there. I think that the final thing I'd like to, I guess this is the right spot to say it, is to, I guess, take the time now to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Council. So, and on behalf of Council, both staff and councillors. So a big Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the community. And I think it's fine to speak on behalf of the councillors to thank all of our council staff for all the hard work that they've put in this year. Thank them for everything they've done to support our organisation to deliver on all of the many and wide and diverse services and programs that we deliver as council. So thank you very much. I don't know if anybody else wanted to add to Christmas greetings. So ho, ho, ho. Thank you very much, everyone. Yep. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And moving on now to item number 20, which is closure of meeting. Thank you. So, in closing for our final General Council meeting for 2024. So thank you, everyone.